my 3 people. Here you go, Nancy.
And you just have to hold it for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
just hold it for me.
All right.
Alright. So today I'm going to talk to you about why there should be a banishment on all soaring practices. So, what is soaring? Soaring is the use of stacks, chemicals, and pressure shoes in order to force horses to lift their legs higher to achieve a certain gait in the show ring. And I do have a picture here. You guys may or may not want to scoot closer. This is a picture here of soaring. As you can see, I have circles around their feet up here where you can see that this horse has a very thick and fat shoe that is on, as well as chains. And you notice that his legs are very extended out. And that is more kind of like when you're lifting weights, you're not going like straight up. You kind of lift out. And that's the same thing that these horses are doing because they're so heavy, is they're just throwing their feet up to try to be able to lift them. And according to the Humane Society, these heavy plantation shoes are weighing up to 5 pounds. Some are even found to weigh about over 8 pounds. So imagine you having that on your feet 24/7. And unfortunately, because of that, it's leading to life-threatening hoof conditions that can lead to death. Now, I do want to talk really quick about the difference between soaring and natural gaits, just so that way if you do see it out there, you kind of know the difference between the two. And that's where the other picture comes in line. As again up here, as you can tell, this is a horse soaring, but there is another difference that I want to talk about, and that's this line that I have going across. Because these shoes are stacked up so high, it's elevating the horse higher, and you can see that his body is totally shifted at a downward angle, and that's putting pressure on their tendons, and it can cause inflammation in their tendons and cause a lot of hoof problems. Now down here is a picture of a natural gait. Now this doesn't use any chemicals or techniques. This is purely bred, and you can tell the difference even their leg. Their leg isn't thrown out, it's pulled straight upwards. So for them it's very light, it's very natural for them to do so. And as well as you look at the incline, there's almost a 0-degree incline there. And that's how a horse should look like within a gaited community. So this is your soaring, and then this is your naturally bred gaited. And this is perfectly fine. There's no harm or anything with that. So what are some hoof conditions that are being caused by soaring? First of all is laminitis. Laminitis is a huge issue. And right here I have a picture of the shoes that they have to wear. This is the hoof, this is the entire shoe. As you can see, it's huge. These screws add the weight, but as well, this bone right here is called the coffin bone. And what happens is that bone shifts downwards, so it's literally pushing through their hoof. So they're stepping on their toe bone. It's excruciatingly painful, and eventually it gets so worse that these animals have to be put down. They can't stand, they can't walk, and these horses fall a lot that do the big lick or soaring techniques as they call them. AVMA in 2012 produced an article discussing soaring practices, and they stated that trainers are purposely causing laminitis to increase that pain, so they're shooting their legs up at higher just to relieve that pain, but they're getting that gait that they're looking for. And as well, they're bruising the hoof, they're reducing that hoof wall, which is this part right here, and that's what holds that coffin bone in place. So when they sand that down, they're losing that tissue connection that's holding that bone and that hoof together. And then they also use chemicals on the legs that again cause pain, that have them lift their feet up all the time. Over here I have a thermoregulation picture, and you can just see the amount of inflammation that are in this horse's hooves right now, the amount of red, and that's extremely painful. And these don't ever come off. These stay on 24/7 until they're exchanged with new shoes. So why is there a need to fight? Well, in 1970, there was a Horse Protection Act that was passed, and it regulated that only showing, auctioning, or transporting soaring horses could not be done. So the practice of training soaring horses at home, perfectly fine. So it's not completely illegal. However, it's still used in shows because it's not regulated. And as Michael Collins from US Today in 2017 perfectly stated, the horse industry is responsible for training its own inspectors in what the USDA says is a conflict of interest that leaves them with no incentive to find violations. These inspectors aren't paid, they're not paid a lot, so there's not a lot of people out there to be able to stop the soring practices. So it keeps on going, and judges still award people who have horses that are soring because that gait is what they're looking for. Well, in 2008, veterinarians started taking a stand. So they started helping in the conviction process. They use different ways of detection. They're looking for scars on a horse's feet. They're looking for thermoregulation. Can't say that word. To look at what areas of heat, of inflammation that are in the tendons from chemicals leaving residues. They can do blood draws to see what chemicals have been introduced into the system, as well as they can do x-rays like the one before. They can see where that coffin bone is at, and those nails leave behind holes.
Blue, 3 south, 381.
So what do we need to do, and what do we need to help with? Well, we can help with organizations taking matters into their own hands. The AVMA, the USEF, and the AAEP are all three organizations, along with several others, that are taking a stand against this. Now, how are they taking a stand? Well, they're the ones that apply licenses for these trainers to be able to go out, show their horses, sell them. So if they're finding out that they're practicing with soring techniques, they take away their license and provide a fine for a certain amount of time. Now they can only do it for 3-4 years. They can sell these horses on the black market, get someone else to do it for them. So it's not really taking a dent. What we as a people need to do is we need to work with this PAST Act. The PAST Act is a bill that was introduced to end all soring techniques, as well as put money aside to have federal inspectors at every single show, so we can ensure that these soring techniques are being wiped out, as well as increasing the penalties and even introducing jail time for those trainers who are implementing these techniques. It was voted on and passed, but unfortunately, when Trump came into office, he introduced a hold on all bills that were not made into law to come back and be re-reviewed. So we were just about to have it passed into law, when now we're having to start all the way back from the beginning. So what can we do as a people is, campaign for it, let other people know what's going on, help fight against it, and even talk to our congressman about helping support and vote to have the PAST Act passed. So in conclusion, soring is the use of chemicals, stacks, and pressure shoes that are causing a gait that is very unnatural in that sense and causing excruciating pain. And it oftentimes it leads to death. These horses are never the same. While veterinarians and organizations have taken a stand, we need to take a stand as well. We need to push for that PAST Act to help put it in the past and end all soring techniques across the country. Banishment of soring is the only way to ensure that there's a permanent stop to this animal cruelty. There's no other word for it. There's no benefit for the animals. It's just a quick way to get money while causing pain at their expense. You can actually report if you do believe that there's a horse that is being sored. You see someone with these certain attributes, you can report them to the Department of Agriculture. So you can be a huge part of it as well. But we need to push the policy. We need to push the policy politically in order to end all of it. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going on, and there's going to be no hope for them. Resources. I'm going to show my last three people. Or not last three, you're still here.